Hello and welcome to this week's show. This week, all about the very first of the tragedies that struck the Kennedy family. No, I'm not talking about JFK, but Joe Kennedy Jr. And of course, this week's painting, which I decided at the last minute to call Green Bird's Nest, because it looks like a fairly tragic bird's nest, I think. So, JFK wasn't, in actual fact, the very first of the Kennedy family to die in mysterious circumstances. It was Joe Kennedy Jr., who died in the Second World War flying a B-24 bomber. Who was Joe Kennedy Jr.? Well, he was the son of Joe Kennedy Sr., I guess, who was the ambassador to England at the beginning of the war and who was in support, in fact, of Germany. He didn't want England to fight Germany, and so he was a bit of an embarrassment to Churchill and Roosevelt, and he was shipped back home. Joe and JFK both moved into the armed forces. JFK went to the Pacific to fight in torpedo boats, and there was quite a famous collision therefore with a Japanese boat, and he was rescued after swimming to an island by a couple of Solomon Islanders in a canoe. Joe Kennedy Jr. went to Europe. He flew missions from Devon in England, some 35 missions in 6 months, I think, out across the Bay of Biscay. Because his father was so famous, he was actually one of the richest men in America at the time as well, his life was kept fairly secret, and probably just as well so, because supposedly he had an affair with a married English woman. Hitler at the time was pounding London with these V1 rockets and V2 rockets, and also he had this V3 massive super gun which he was going to fire missiles into the south of England. So, of course, the Allies wanted to get rid of these launch pads whereby Hitler was firing these missiles into the south of England. And Joe was selected to pilot this aeroplane as sort of like an elite crew. He was a very experienced pilot, and on August 12, 1944, he took off in this B-24, laden with 20,000 pounds of explosives, in an armada of aircraft. There were aircraft all around him, including, in one of the aircraft, was the son of President Roosevelt. So they took off, and first of all they were going to try things out, because it was a bit of an unusual mission in that the idea was that the plane would eventually be switched onto remote control, and the pilots and the crew would bail out, and the plane would continue the course and fly into target and then explode. So that was the idea, and they were just trying things out in the south of England after they took off. Joe, therefore, being the pilot, switched the plane onto the radio control unit. Now when they took off, there was a switch, a safety pin that was properly installed to prevent accidental ignition, right? And that was properly installed. So he switched it to the control unit and removed the safety pin, then signalled OK in the code phrase "stay flush." After that, at 6:20 PM, the plane exploded. Very few B-24 parts were found, and no body parts were found at all. Now, the secret that has never been revealed is why on earth were they even flying this mission? Because, as it came out years later, the target that they were given was, in actual fact, almost completely destroyed about a week earlier. So therefore, the mission was pretty much a waste of time. It was also extremely diabolical in that any one of these aeroplanes flying in this armada, through a mere radio contact, could have ignited the bombs that they had on the plane. You see? So it was an extremely diabolical mission, and also complete waste of time. Was it covered up because it was a mistake in that they had the wrong target, or they didn't forgotten about the fact that they just demolished it a week beforehand? Or did it have something to do with this mysterious Englishwoman who was married and having an affair with Joe Kennedy Jr.? Because to this day, no definitive answers have been given as to the pointless mission and why they were sort of left in such diabolical circumstances whereby it was almost inevitable that the plane was going to explode as it did. So there you go. Who knows? There's a mystery for you. Something to think about. And a new painting for you to observe. Well, I hope you've had a fantastic week. I hope you have a fantastic week this week. Thanks for watching. Please rate, subscribe and comment, and tune in next week for more of the Simon Boyd Show. Thanks a lot, and I'll see you next week. Bye.